Hello and welcome to the 1912 Exiles podcast, the original, the biggest, the best Newport County podcast made by Newport County fans for Newport County fans. We are powered by the Terrace Podcast Network and brought to you in association with the Riverside Sports Bar, the home of great food and live sport in Newport. I'm Ed, and you won't be listening to too much of my voice in this episode, but I've got a few parish notices to do at the top. So firstly, let me just thank all the people who keep leaving nice 5-star reviews for the podcast. We had a lovely one from Richard recently saying that the pod is pushing him towards coming back to see County after a long absence. And there really is no greater praise for us than if we're helping semi-detached fans to keep track of what's happening and reignite their enthusiasm for it all. So thank you for that, Richard. Please do leave 5-star reviews wherever you get your podcasts. I also want to thank our Ko-Fi subscribers. Hopefully we'll hear from a few of them later on. But I want to start by mentioning John Watkins, a new subscriber. Great to have you on board. Thanks for your generosity. Thanks also to Marc Price, another new contributor. There is a link in the show notes for anyone who wants to throw in as little as £2 a month towards our running costs. So, I'm recording this on Saturday morning. We've obviously got a double header of home games with Notts County later today and then Bromley on Tuesday. As things stand, the plan is to cover both games in one episode. But what I want to do is to try and speak to a few listeners who we've not heard as much from this season. You've heard plenty of me and Ian and Ollie over recent weeks. So let's get views from a few others. For my part, I think the consensus is now that we are safe. Relegation looms instead for probably 2 out of 3 of Morecambe, Carlisle and Tranmere. County have got a good number of home games left. I'd still like to think that we can beat last season's points total of 55, which would be no mean feat when you compare this squad to the one we had last season. But I think we all probably want to see a bit of progress in terms of performances as well. We've had a bit of a soft centre in a lot of those recent games. Even when we've won, it's often been despite rather than because of how well we've played. Can we dominate games a little bit more, have a bit more possession, create more chances? These are the things I think that would drive some more optimism and, dare I say it, drive a few more of us to renew our season tickets for next year. Today's game is going to be tricky. I still have flashbacks of Notts County and of Jody Jones in particular ripping us a new one last season at Rodney Parade. But Tuesday night against Bromley is one that on paper we ought to be able to win. I'm also looking forward to today's game because there's the Newport Music Trail going on today. So my plan is to enjoy the match and then catch a few bands at the pub afterwards. So let's get down to NP19 and see what's what, shall we? Right, it's coming up to 2:30. I'm in the Hazels concourse and I'm joined by long-time listener, first-time contributor, Antony. How are you doing, Antony?
Yeah, great, thanks.
Good. First of all, you've seen the lineup, and we've been trying to put our heads together and work out the shape. We're thinking 4-2-3-1. What do you think of it? What do you think is going to happen?
Feels like we've gone back to the sort of formation we started with at the beginning of the season. So I'm a little bit nervous, I've got to be honest. I think when we don't play our experienced players, I think we look fragile, particularly defensively. So let's see how we go today.
And no James Clark as well, which you were saying is a bit of a worry when you look back at that long spell we had without him and the results weren't great.
I think in the winter period, end of December, January time, I thought we were really struggling, and the injury to Brennan, who's done okay, I think probably, I think might have saved the manager his job, because Clark's come into the side and it's been absolutely fantastic. So it's a real shame that he's not playing today. If everything goes to plan, I've lined up a whole load of listeners to speak to over the course of this game and Tuesday's game. And although we'll obviously touch on the games themselves, I'm going to zoom out and ask people 3 core questions, and you're my guinea pig for these, Ant. So the first one I want to ask everyone is, have we overperformed or underperformed against your pre-season expectations? I think that's a difficult one. I was thinking about that this morning, so I'm glad you gave me the questions in advance. If you look at our history, we're probably where we should be, kind of lower Division 4 team. We're not one of the teams that usually competes to go up. So we're probably where I thought we would be and where we should be. The bit that's worried me is how we've got here. We've had long spells where we've been awful, frankly, and then we've managed to cobble together probably a fortnight of really good results, which has saved our season. So by hook or by crook, we're where we should be, and I'd feel a little bit more comfortable if our results were more consistent through the season and we picked up points, on a more regular basis than we have done.
Yeah, I mean, it's the home form that has really saved us. I mean, I think the stat that came out is we're the worst away form in the division, and we're like 5th in the table in terms of home form. So on that basis, you'd say, well, we should go into games like this feeling confident, right?
Well, exactly. I mean, our home form it's almost been promotion form, really, and we should be confident. But I kind of feel like we'll either win 3-0 or lose 3-0. That's kind of what we're like at the moment, isn't it? So, if we hadn't managed to get some results here, we would be in big trouble. And I think we've had spells in recent years where we haven't been able to buy a win at home as well. So that has to be a positive thing from the season.
Yeah. Well, let's turn to players then. So my second question is about the people who've stood out for good or for ill, and particularly of the players who are coming to the end of their contract or the loanees who are going to be having their loans expire at the end of the season. Who are you most desperate to keep, and who are you not too worried about waving farewell to?
So I don't think any of the loanees really have stood out to such a degree that I'd be desperate to keep them. I'd really like us to keep our experienced players, Clark, Wildig, Townsend, McLaughlin. I can't see us keeping any of them though, which is a worry. I think we know what Hugh Jenkins wants to do. We'll look to try and get some gems from the lower leagues, but without that core of experienced players, I think that we could potentially have a difficult year next year.
I guess so much will depend on the summer and the recruitment and changes, which sort of brings me on to the final question, which is, do you think that Nelson Jardim will still be head coach come August, and how do you feel about that?
I think he will. I think Nelson and Hugh have probably learnt a massive amount about League 2 or Division 4 football this season. I think one of the things that's worried me is that this is Newport County, it's not Swansea City, so it's not about playing in a particular way. It's about hard graft, it's about effort, it's like being underdogs, fighting for every point, scrapping to the end. And I think that they're probably slowly learning that. So if we ditch Jardim now, then I think we would have just wasted a year effectively. So I think he deserves probably the summer, see what the recruitment looks like, and then we'll, like any manager, they're always 6 games from the sack really anyway, aren't they? But I think he deserves to start next season. We'll see where we go. I mean, hopefully we can improve.
I mean, it would also be interesting to see how he does having a summer where he is more involved probably in the recruitment process, because by the time he came in last season, certainly by the time his sort of appointment as head coach was confirmed, most of the players have been signed. So this season he's there from the outset, I guess.
I mean, that's it, and it sounds like that he does have a good relationship with Hugh based on their kind of history together. So they must be talking about potential players that they want to get in next year, and certainly then he's going to be involved from the outset really in terms of bringing people in. I mean, as you say, by the time he came in, he was just handed a squad of players and just said, "We'll get on with it," really. And I don't know if he knew, or we certainly didn't know, if he was even going to be the manager. So, we should be better prepared for the start of next season. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed indeed. Well, Ant, it's been lovely to meet you. And final thing, score prediction this afternoon?
3-0 to us or 3-0 to them. Can't make up my mind.
One extreme or the other. Well, look, thank you very much. I'm sure we'll speak again at some point in the future.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks very much.
Oh, it's great. Right, half time, 1-0 down, and I'm joined by another long-time listener, first-time contributor, John from Tinty and the Bucket Hats. How you doing? You all right?
It could be a lot better after that, but yeah, we're doing well enough at the moment.
Well, we were just saying we created chances, but this desire to go to 4 at the back, are we getting the most out of those, out of McLaughlin, out of Glennon? What are we going to do? How do we change this?
Well, your wingers are your wing backs are the more your Glennon and McLaughlin. They can't get forward enough, so they stuck just before the halfway line. That's inviting pressure. Now we're like Notts County are weak on the counter. They're weak at the back. We can't exploit them there. So what we're doing is basically giving them every option to say, have a go at us today. Midfield battle is terrible. We're very weak there. There's holes in there. They're exploiting them really good. We need 5 at the back. We need 5 at the back where we can absorb pressure and play to the counter, because that is our best standard that we've been playing, or best formation we've been playing all season, is when we play for the counter. We're not good at going directly at teams like we had in the Cockman, where we had Palmer, Holden, Evans, who would constantly press up top and had a high press. We're not that team. we haven't got a striker who can win and hold the ball up straight from the off. So we play from a progressive style of absorbing play and building on the width on the counter. We've done none of that today. We've had glimpses when we've got the ball in their half and we're able to penetrate, great, but we need to see that progressive build-up happen all over again. Get Thomas on, get 5 at the back. I'd like to see Kai Whitmore introduced. We need a bastard. That's what we need.
You've been saying it all season, we need a bastard. I mean, the other one who's on the bench is Keenan Patton, who I wonder if that's the role he might play, but it's, we're going to need to give him some minutes between now and the end of the season. Maybe today's the one.
The style of football that Keenan plays, he's very much takes the ball, likes to spread it wide. He's not a aggressive attacking footballer, but what he is somebody who can absorb play, he can distribute play really well, and he's great at breaking up play. I think, why don't we try him? What have we got to lose now by trying a young player like him? So we know now what we can coach him on in the next couple of months. So at the start of the season, he is firing, ready to go, rather than learn about him in pre-season. Let's get the hard yards into him now, where we can learn all about his areas of improvement, all of his strengths, rather than going into pre-season and have to learn that, because that can be too late sometimes.
I'm going to throw my 3 questions at you. So the first one is, have we overperformed or underperformed against what you expected pre-season?
Massively overperformed. I said at the start of the season I'd be looking at 20th, I'd be very happy with. We've got to look at this as a whole 3-5 year project. This isn't about, I think people think Jenkins has got this massive pot of money and he's like a gold digger. He's not. He's all about building things from the ground up, a sustainable, profitable business that grows from his roots. Our roots were terrible originally. We've had to go back and strengthen our roots off the field. By doing that off the field, hopefully next season that allows a little bit of progression on the field. On the field, what I've seen, I'm excited at times. There has been some really good football moments, and you can't deny that. You can be pig-headed and say that you just because you don't like Jenkins, that it's been all terrible. It hasn't all been terrible. There has been some really lovely flashes of what could happen, also surrounded by some moments of what could terribly go wrong. So it's and that's why we sit 13 to 15 points from playoffs to relegation, because we have been that team that has been so inconsistently good and bad. We sit perfectly where we should be, and we have massively overperformed, I think.
And then on the playing front, of the ones who are out of contract, who are you most desperate to sign up, and is there anyone you'll gladly say bye-bye to?
I'll stick politely, but I'd love Clark to stay. I think you need him just as experience. He'll give so much more as experience than he will do as actual game time, and I think what he'll give off the field as well. We've seen as soon as he's come back into the squad and being a valuable member of the squad, we've changed our fortunes around. There's no magic formula with that. Clark's come back and settled the score on and off the field, I believe. Townsend, you have to have a number one goalkeeper. You have to have somebody you're going to be confident in, because if you're confident in him, your defence sits up a little bit higher. If you're not confident in him, they sit back. Before you've even started the season, if you've got a goalkeeper you're not confident in, you're on the back foot. People are going to press you because your defence will naturally sit off. Carbo, I would love to see him reintroduced. I think he could be a bastard of a footballer. I want to see him play. I just want to see what actually is there, because we haven't seen his worth at the moment. McLaughlin, I am very 50-50, purely because the style of play that we're going for is not suiting him. As much as he's a fantastic footballer, do we just hang on because he's a good footballer, or do we look at the bigger picture of what can we get from him financially? Are we going to get anything? I don't think we will. But as him as a person, is he going to be better off as a player someone else than us? Because at the moment his style doesn't suit us, and it's so frustrating.
Especially when we're playing him in midfield.
Yeah, exactly. He's just so out of position. But he's somebody that if he did go, I'd be upset just because of what he's given to the club. But would I be really distraught? Not really, because unfortunately what we're trying to do as an identity now, he just doesn't fit it. Which is sad.
And then on the big question, then Nelson Jardim, where are you with him?
I think he's a fantastic coach. He is not a manager. If I was to be honest, I'd love to keep him as a coach. He knows what he's talking about. You could see that with his communication on the field.
Well, you have the perfect vantage point here. You're right behind him in the dugout.
Yeah, you can see that from a coaching point of view. What you do see is valid, good coaching points. They're not managerial points. And that's the difference between why we are where we are. Would Jardim want to stay as a coach if you had somebody come in as a manager? That's a big question. But I do believe you need a senior figure, a managerial figure, to come in and to dictate, to lead the line, to lead everything, really. I don't feel we got that, and I do feel it'd have to be the right managerial appointment that would appropriately challenge Jenkins, not just be a yes man because this guy up top is going to look after him quite nicely. And same for Jenkins, I think he'll grow even furthermore as a business person, understand the club even more by being challenged rather than having somebody who will be a yes man. And again, business grows from hard conversations.
Absolutely. And as the teams come back out, one last question. What's happening in the world of Tinty and the Bucket Hats at the moment?
Well, at the moment we got a couple of gigs lined up. We're back on the Wales stage pretty soon. We'll be doing the FAW Cup final then in Newport start of May, a couple of festivals, and we've got let's just say there's a new chant that came out of Macedonia at the moment that we pretty much got wrapped up and sealed and is ready to deliver ready.
Keep your eyes on the social media channels, folks. Link in the show notes. Lovely to have a chat, John. Really appreciate it, and we'll speak again soon.
Good to see you, Ed. Good to see you, mate.
Right, second half is underway. I thought, well, we should interview the younger generation as well as us oldies. So Iwan, who came on a few episodes back and made his debut, is with me at the back of the Hazel stand. So I'm going to throw the same questions to you, Iwan, that I was throwing to everyone else. So first of all, how do you think we've done this season? How have we performed against your expectations?
I think my expectations were that we're probably going to be towards the bottom two, like 24th, 23rd, but I'll take staying up by like a point, because I think staying up is a key thing for us this season. Like, beat the points tally from last year and go again next season.
Do you think we've progressed the playing style? Because the frustration I've got isn't about where we are in the league, because I think I'm the same as you. You know, we probably are doing better in the league than I expected. The thing that's frustrating me is that I'm not really convinced that we're playing any better now than we were when you and I and various others in our party today saw us lose at Barry in that pre-season friendly in the rain in July.
Yeah, I think the style of play that we've been playing this season is definitely different to what Graham Coughlin played last year. Sometimes it doesn't work, like today it's not really worked, and there's other games where it's just not worked, and then there's some games where it's absolute miracle, it's worked and we win. Like Harrogate, like that worked really well. We won 3-0 comfortably. Like, don't get much better than that. But then you also get times where we get battered in this same shape, like Accrington and.
Yeah, the inconsistency has definitely been there. Now, I know the answer you're going to give for this one. So, of the players out of contract, you know, who are you most desperate to keep? But as the leading member of the Nick Townsend fan club, I think I probably know where you're going with that. So let me ask you a different question. Of the players who are out of contract or the loanees, is there anyone who you're looking forward to waving goodbye to?
Looking forward to saying goodbye. Not very many of the loan players have been that bad this year.
Oh, nice little chance from the lad McGoldrick, who has been all over us today.
37 and running through our defence like it's nothing.
37, he early first half he ran past Cameron Antony as though he wasn't there. The loanees, the ones who are still with us and going. I mean, Azure Boy is probably the one I think most likely to get made an offer, but I don't know, where are you on him?
I'd keep Azure Boy, I like him, but him and Cam were possibly the best wingers that we've had in a while, but I think maybe it might be time to say bye-bye to Carl Hudlin. I just don't think we'll get him for next season.
And then, is this going to be a goal? No, another little goalmouth scramble. And then, final question, where are you on the head coach situation? Do you think Nelson Jardim will still be head coach in August? What's your feeling?
I'd like Nelson Jardim to be our head coach in August, because I think he's done a good job. You know, obviously, last season losing Seb, Evans, most of our first team, to reform with a new manager. He's done really well. I'd love to see him stay, but I just think his contract, it's only 1 year.
Well, look, and thank you as always. Always a pleasure to chat to you, and I'm sure we'll speak again before the season's out.
Thank you.
Right, well, full-time whistle's gone and it's finished 2-0. I think it's probably fair to say That is a game we will be happy to forget. And I'm going to chat with a man who's been on a couple of times this season, my mate Simon. I looked it up before we came out, and I think this is your 4th game this season. I think you came with me to watch us lose at Barry pre-season, and then you saw us win here against Accrington and draw against Bradford. How does today compare to those 3 matches?
I think that's the worst. Yeah, I think I can comfortably say that was the worst. At least with Bradford there was a sense of achievement from getting some sort of a point. Today there really wasn't much to commend it, was there?
There wasn't. And one thing you and I were saying during the first half was, if you look back to that game in Barry, what we said at the time was, well, there's some talent in there, there's a promising crop of youngsters, they need time to gel. And you feel like you're still saying that now in March, that, you know, but they surely should have gelled by now, shouldn't they?
Yeah, I didn't see a lot of progress, but then I'm only seeing a few of these games, right? But yeah, there were a few interesting individuals back at the beginning of the season. I mean, there wasn't anybody that particularly impressed today. And more, I just don't have a real sense of direction when they get the ball. What's the plan, and is it being well executed? And as you say, the coach has had the best part of a season to work on it, and I guess there are questions whether or not it's worth persisting with.
Insofar as there was a plan today, it was let Notts County have possession, when we get it we break quickly. But I mean, that was kind of the plan that we had last season under Graham Coughlin, and it doesn't feel like we're doing it as well as we did last year. I suppose the proof of the pudding will be in the eating. You know, do we get more points on the board at the end of this season? But I don't know, it's less persuasive because it doesn't feel as well understood and well pursued by the players as what we were doing last year.
It doesn't feel that the fans are being particularly well entertained, and I think that you want those dangerous moments, don't you? You want that quick attack that looks like it could achieve something, and although there were a few moments today, they were pretty few and far between, and I don't remember that they really tested their keeper very much.
No, we didn't. I think, Martin had a chance or two. I think Whitmore, to be fair, was bright when he came on, but yeah, apart from that, there's wasn't a lot to write home about. So, well, I'm going to finish asking you then the same questions I've been asking everyone else today, which is, how are we performing against your pre-season expectations?
I had assumed there might be a greater quality of possession and inventiveness, perhaps, that takes a bit of coaching but gets better after a while. So maybe a bit disappointed in that sense.
And of the players you saw today, who has stood out, particularly, I guess, of the ones who might be on their way, who do you think we most need to keep and protect from that squad?
I mean, honestly, I haven't watched enough of the games, but on today's performance, there's nobody, if you said, oh, they're leaving, that I think I'd be disappointed by. Just genuinely, there was nobody that I thought had that sense of inventiveness or quality that we really must retain.
And finally, as a man who's watched 4 games over the course of the season, but spread out, and you see these little patches, are you kind of Jardim or Jard out?
I think I'm Jard out, and usually I'm quite loyal to managers, and there's nothing that he's doing badly. I just don't know that there's enough there and enough sense that if you try that again, it's going to get much better next season, unless there's a whole recruitment of players that can really meet the style that he needs. So maybe try, I'm not saying to change the style, but maybe somebody that can execute it a bit better.
Well, we're going to try and salvage what we can out of an afternoon now by going up to the pub and watching the Rogues, amongst others. Let's hope for a more pleasant evening than we've had an afternoon. And we'll be back again on Tuesday night. So that was Saturday. It's now Tuesday afternoon, and I'm preparing for the Bromley game and hopefully speak to a few more people. Looking back on Saturday's defeat, it just felt to me like we got it wrong tactically. That 4 at the back didn't work. We left gaps. It restricted Glennon and McLaughlin's attacking threat. And once we went behind, it was just sort of hard to shift things. Credit to Notts County, though, who I thought looked very well drilled. And in the lad McGoldrick, they've got a level of quality that we just don't possess at the moment. I did think Whitmore did quite well when he came on, and we did create chances, but it just didn't come off for us. I have to say, though, it was a cracking day out. It was lovely to speak to a few listeners I've only ever interacted with on social media. And after the game, I saw a few other familiar faces in town at Le Pub as part of the Newport Music Trail. I saw Jamie Phillips of the Dragon's Lair podcast, who'd also been at County's game. And I tell you what, if you think we're having a bad season, it could be worse. Poor Jamie watches all of the Newport Dragons games and, comes to see County for light relief. There's always someone worse off than yourself. It was lovely to see Newport in the sunshine, people enjoying a beer and enjoying so many great bands who were on, showcasing the city's live music scene. It was a packed house in the pub for the Rogues, who I think are all County fans. I enjoyed watching Wire, who were on afterwards, who I think have South Wales links as well. And a tip of the hat to Luke, who does the matchday music at Rodney Parade, and his pre-match playlist on Saturday, which featured a few local bands or bands who were on the bill later on in the evening. A really nice touch, I thought. And it just made me think we should celebrate a bit more what we have in Newport, show what we've got to offer. By the same token, pre-match, I'd nipped into Cake Lab on Grafton Road, first time for a while. And we've spoken on the pod before about how a lot of the food in Rodney Parade is a little bit same old. But, just a stone's throw away is a local independent business selling some incredible samosas and delicious cakes. And so, maybe we all need to be a bit more glass half full and celebrate some of this stuff when we go to the football. But anyway, that concludes this week's sermon. I'm off to practice what I preach by nipping down to the Moringer and to our friends at the Riverside Sports Bar pre-match, before hopefully finding a few friends to talk to before the game against Bromley. But before I go down there, there's one other thing I want to throw in, which is a little voice note that was shared on the 1912 Exiles WhatsApp group earlier from Ian, which, as with all little Ian poems and quotes that he digs out, deserves its own little special background music. So, let's take it away. And after this, we'll have a quick advert break. But first of all, a nice interlude from Ian, an Ian-terlude.
So I'm currently reading everyone's favourite Norwegian existentialist, Karl Ove Knausgaard, who also loves his football and has written a book about it, which I'm reading and massively enjoying. And I love this little bit, which has sort of summed up a lot for me this season. He's talking about what the point of football is, basically. And he says, it won't lead anywhere, change anything or create anything. For the moment something is done, it has also disappeared. Nothing lasts in football. It is simply a game. It is anti-seriousness, anti-meaning, anti-intellectual. It is the kitten chasing the ball of wool. It is the horse running alongside the fence snorting. It is the falcon gliding on the wind. It is the otter sliding down the snow-covered mountain on its back. It is that which has no meaning. It is only fun. It is a sparkle. And no one had more sparkle than Maradona. Now, I'm not saying we're missing Maradona in the team, although we are. But we are missing sparkle. Sparkle is what I have missed this season. Karl Ove Knausgaard says it well.
Right, so we're in the Moringer having a swift pre-match drink, and I'm joined by pod debutant Marc Pepler. Hello, Marc.
Hi, how are we doing?
All right.
Team news is out, and we've just been looking through it, and we think 5-3-2. Clark is back in, which I'm quite relieved about after Saturday, but we're trying general pattern in midfield, so the hard tackling two in front of the five is Antony and Patton. How do you feel about that?
I'm quite keen on Patton, so I don't think it's too bad that he's coming. I think if he's going to get minutes, he needs it now, while we have level to play for. If he's going to get Football League experience, this is the day to do it. But I also think it's just an average squad, and like we've said all season, there's no squad that's really been outstanding for us. So I think today's that again.
Yeah, I mean, it also feels as though with what happened on Saturday and with the squad today, as though Nelson's trying out a few different things, whether it has different players, different formations. And I think Patton coming in is exactly that. It's let's give him a chance from the start, see how he does. So yeah, let's kind of look forward to seeing his debut. I've got to ask you my 3 big questions. So the first one, how have we done against your pre-season expectations? Overperformed, underperformed? Where are we?
Overperforms. Every season I tell myself very confidently we're gonna get 7th. I'm gonna steal 7th this year. This season, because of the inexperience that we signed, I was like, okay, not enough time for anyone to transition into full-time football or senior football. So I was expecting us to finish within the 20s. We still might do, hopefully we don't. But then I thought, depending on what we get in terms of management and backroom staff, it could come well. But I was disappointed by bringing in Jardim as a full-time manager, head coach rather, sorry. And I think we have slightly overperformed from what I expected in the summer. Unfortunately, that's how bad I think he thought we were going to do.
Yeah, that seems to be the consensus from people we've spoken to. I mean, I think the difficult part is now that we have survived, or I know it's not mathematically there, but basically let's sort of work on that basis.
We're comfortable.
Then what do you do in these last few games? And I think it's now there is going to be a bit of apathy. I think on the message board there was a discussion about, we have fight back February, we then had March up the table, which was anything but, and it feels like now we're into apathy April.
I think with the squads at this point, it's a case of who wants to play. And of course everyone wants to play football, but at the same time it's who really is showing week on week that they want to play. And we can't tell anyone that. Only the backroom staff can. There's not much we can really do in saying who should and shouldn't be playing when there's nothing to play for. No one's really interested, and it's weird because I don't think I've ever seen a time with this club in a long time where it's so many empty games, realistically.
Well, there's going to be a lot of empty seats tonight as well. I think we're going to have a low turnout. But on the playing front then, the next question is about who's stood out, but who do you want us to make a real effort to kind of re-sign over the summer, and equally, who are you not too fussed about maybe waving goodbye to?
There might be a shock in here. I'll save the shock for a little bit, just for the viewers to be on their toes. Firstly, I think if we don't sign Nick Townsend, then we're already in trouble. I think if you sign Nick Townsend, we don't get relegated, and I'm very, very confident in saying that. If you get that number 1 sorted, you're fine. I'd offer Clark a 1-year contract just to see how he gets on next year. It's easy for everyone to say, he'll be passing next year. We'll give him a chance to prove that he isn't. Wildig, I'm sort of impartial. I think Wildig's fantastic, but he's at that stage in his career with an injury as well where it's going to be tough for it, and it's up to him, and I'm very happy with him taking what decision he wants. I would like to see us re-sign Kyle Handel. Now.
Big intake from me. Go on, talk us through your logic.
Okay, so you take away Campbell's 2 hat-tricks, and I really, really, really like Campbell. Handel's our top scorer. In 2021, our top scorer finished on 8 goals. Matt Dolan. And we say, this big striker, he's not scoring goals, this, that and the other. He would not be getting as much hate as he has been if he was merely 6 foot or 5'11". The difference is everyone's like, he must do this, he must have all this technical ability, but when he comes off the bench, he's either close or he is getting goals. And if we are, like some people fear, could be in a dogfight again next season, that's exactly the sort of player I want in my team.
I think you definitely need to have that big, strong, tall option at the front. It's just whether that's your plan A or your plan B, and I think that's probably where maybe we differ. But I think my views on that are already well known. You've already alluded then to Nelson Jardim, but expand on it a bit. Are you Jardim or Jardat?
I hate to say it, that at the moment I was Jard out, and that's on the basis of that I don't think in general our backroom staff are not only strong enough but qualified enough, other than maybe a few. I think that if we want to have a young squad that's going to do well and that's going to learn to play in the Football League, you need a manager with strong Football League experience. Unfortunately, Nelson Jardim doesn't have that as a manager or as a head coach. He's had it in other roles, and he's had a great career in that respect. But in this respect, he doesn't meet the mark for me. And I know a lot of people have said about, do we go down the contact look of Hugh Jenkins rather, and go for Gary Monk. I don't think that's realistic. I think as well, Hugh Jenkins has a lot of better qualified coaches under his belt, and I generally think that if we look past last few managers, Graham Potter would have done fantastically with this squad.
This has been my kind of a mind palace for the week, is trying to think how would Graham Coughlin have done this. I mean, he would have wanted to have managed a squad this young, but I definitely think if he had been in charge of this squad, you would be seeing, the likes of Kieran Brennan being much more physical, heading a brick, tackling a fridge. You'd see a midfield that was more up for a scrap. I mean, yeah, it's all kind of hypothetical, but I definitely am with you on that.
Like, I agree, it's definitely all hypothetical, and Graham's not here right now. He's doing great stuff at Boston, despite the situation he walked into. Maybe Graham did leave because of the plan that was going ahead, but see if he did come into this. I mean, we did so well with Kiban Rai when Kiban Rai first came in. I think he would be a really strong person to have in that change room and to show that what the standard Football League player is. And then I look previously and look at James Robury. James Robury would have absolutely excelled and more with this squad. This would have been his absolute bread and butter. He'd have loved every minute with his squad. And I think overall, it's got to be a case of who's a strong enough willed manager with Football League experience who will handle the folly of youth.
Well, there we go. That's one to ponder for us all. All right, final question then. What's going to happen tonight?
We're going to draw 1-1, and it's going to be Keaton Patton to score.
There we go. Well, you heard it here, folks. You heard it here, folks, first. All right, well, we'll step up here and then wander over to the ground. Thanks a lot.
Amazing. Thank you.
Whoopee. Right, so we are in the concourse. There's more people here than I would have expected to be at this point before kick-off. I was expecting it to be like a morgue tonight. And we're joined by another first-time appearance on the pod from Rhys. How you doing, Rhys? You all right?
I'm right, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. What have you made of the lineup, and what do you think we're in store for tonight?
Both teams are 11 to play for at the moment. It's kind of they're both experimenting. I think Bromley have gone experimental as well. For preparing for next year, we're there prepared next year. Not many lonelies in the team. Seeing what we've got.
Yeah. Also, like, the weather doesn't help with the whole feeling of like we're on the beach by this point, right?
Yeah, everyone's on holiday. I want to be on holiday.
So, talk to me then. How are we doing against your expectations for the season?
I kind of expected mid-table-ish. So mid-table and fighting for something. It's how when people look in at us and don't see the vision of the team. I expected more from this team. Whether it's coaching, whether it's players, nothing's worked out this season. It's kind of a thought of a nothing season. Feels like a season that building for what happens next season. Next season would be the big season. Second season, forces into change teams. Whether or not he'll bring in big players, spend money or not is the...
Do you see that happening? I mean, I guess that's where we're all at now, is looking at it thinking, right, what do we need? How do we turn this team that might finish 17th, 18th, 19th, how do we turn that into something that's going to finish top half? I mean, everyone's on about experience, but like, where do you think those players need to be? And do you see Jenkins flashing the cash?
Not necessarily splashing cash, but spending it correctly. Okay. Spending on players who will improve the team, not spending on young players who take 4 years to come into effect, and that time they're down in the National League and not doing anything with it. So I think a player who can step into like a midfield, so if Wildig, who was in this injury for Wildig, and can manage that midfield, get players kind of working harder. So at the moment we've got Carr, Phil Shout players, and that's it. No one else is really stepping up into that leadership role. So a few leaders in the team. So I like the young heads. They're good. There's a good quality there. Just needs to have that kind of little sprinkle of leadership in there to glue it all together.
Yeah, especially in midfield, I guess. So like, of that team then, who's stood out for you for good or for ill?
I mean Baker. Baker's best of that bunch, right? He's consistent. There's mistakes off back line, but it's never usually him making a solid mistake. It's usually them and that's why Clark since now, I imagine, because her mistakes on Saturday, where he's booked back in now, it's kind of cool. Brendan and Baker just don't work together very well.
I wonder if it was the plan as well to try that 4 on Saturday and then today to try pattern. It's, we're in the experimental stage of the season. As long as we pick up some points, and that's the if, I suppose. And then on the head coach point, where are you on Nelson Jardim?
Don't want him to stay. He's a nice bloke. He's not a manager. When he first came in, it's like, a head coach, perfect. Yeah, he'll fit the bill. We'll have a nice experienced manager who will take us on. He'll be really good and needs a manager. And we'll say, he's an actual manager or a head coach. So I'd rather someone else come in who knows League 2 well. Knows League 2, knows how to get a team out of League 2. Knows how to build a team as perfect for this league. The style of football we're playing now is perfect for a top championship team. Not a team looking to get promoted from League 2. With the wages that we can have to spend, it's a weird one where we're not going anywhere with a team like this. And his coaching leaves a lot to do. I said there's just decisions. His decision making is shocking. You can't really turn the losing teams or the team, that's a problem. You can't turn it around.
Well, tonight's going to be a good test of that. Can we see a reaction from Saturday? What's your prediction for tonight then?
Scrappy 1-0. It's for 1-0. A 1 goal will leave away, and then the team will sit back and hold on to it, I imagine.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a night where 1 goal will be enough for either team. Like you say, they put out a load of youngsters as well. Well, look, it's been lovely to catch up with you, Rhys, and I'm sure we'll speak again. But yeah, enjoy the evening.
Thank you very much.
All right, drop time. County are unbelievably 1-0 up here. It could be 4-1, 5-1 to Bromley. We would have no cause for complaint. If they could shoot straight, we would be in real trouble here. They've spurned so many good opportunities, far better than ours, which was a streaky Cam Evans header from a corner. But we're 1-0 up, and we've got to use this position of being in the driving seat to push home the advantage and get the win. But I've got to say, I was rather dispirited that first half. I'm normally a fairly positive person, as you know, but Bromley just looked like a bang average, meat and potatoes, physical, strong, quick 4th division side. There's no particular guile about them. They're not set up in any particularly clever way. They just know what they're doing and they all know their jobs. And yeah, they're a strong physical side, and they've bullied us in every area of the pitch. They've created far more chances and have had the lion's share, 2/3 of the possession, I think. And I'm in no disrespect to the likes of Bromley and all that, but we're at home here against a side adjacent to us in the table, and they look like they're a league above us. So I fear for the second half. On the pitch, I mean, Josh Martin had a lovely chance early on. He was through on goal. He could have shot, he could have squared into Bobby Camwer. Instead, he sort of scuffed the pass and the defender cleared, so he's not having a great game. Glennon is under McCosh, left back. Keenan Patton hasn't a whole load to do. He's not done brilliantly when he has had the ball. And the defensive line, there's a lot of passing back and forward and not trying to probe them a little bit. When we have got forward quickly, it's been because we've done quick, nice cross-field passes, switching the play quickly, but often, most of the time, we're just a little bit too ponderous. So yeah, big 45 to go. We're lucky to be ahead, but we are ahead, so we've got to push home the advantage and yeah, make sure we get the 3 points. But yeah, looking at it and looking at what we've got on the bench, I'm not especially persuaded that we're going to do it. But hope springs eternal. Wait for the teams to come out now for the second.
Right, well, there is 91 minutes showing on the clock, and yeah, this is not quite petering out to a 1-1 draw, but both sides starting to look tired, and I've been joined by long-time listener, occasional contributor, patron of the pod, all-round good egg, Hamid Baladabadi. How you doing, Hamid?
I'm not bad, Ed. Enjoying the game so far.
Are you?
Well, I'm enjoying it because we're still in this one, to be honest. I think the point kind of flatters us a little, but
yeah,
I'm not
agree.
complaining.
No, me neither. I mean, yeah, a point given the balance of play, the balance of chances, the possession, all of that stuff. I think, yeah, you're right. You know, you look at it on paper, and Bromley should have well, they should have had it wrapped up in the first half, really.
I agree.
The thing that frustrated me was the first decent 10 minutes of pressure that we had, sustained pressure, and then we went and gave away the goal straight after it, and we sort of, from that winning position that we found ourselves in at half time, it looks as though we'll settle for a point, but it's another point.
It's another point, and Morecambe keep winning, like I said, but eventually they're going to run out of road. If we keep bagging the point here, the occasional win, then we'll be safe for another season, and let's hope for a bit more positive fortunes on the pitch, let's say.
Yeah, a bit more joy we could do with, I think, based on tonight. So, I mean, where have we performed against what you expected back in August?
Ed, I think yourself and me, I think we were a bit more of the more pessimistic supporters. I think when we brought in a whole new team, inexperienced team with an inexperienced manager, I think it more or less told the story that we weren't going to be pushing for promotion. I think it was a game of survival, and we've done that. Yeah. So if that they were my expectations, and we've hit that. We've exceeded it probably.
And how do we kick on, I guess? Because I think the consensus from a lot of people has been, we probably finished higher than we expected, but the manner in which we've done it has frustrated at times.
I think the biggest mistake that we made last season, we let a lot of experience walk out the door for free. And I know we've got McLaughlin, Clag, Townsend, even Wildig. We can't lowball them like we did to the guys last year. So first thing we've got to do, keep those guys, and we've got to build on the team in a few areas. But there's a few bright sparks. Camwa, Joe Thomas has been excellent. If we can keep hold of Ajiboye, that would be immense. I don't think we will. I think he'd find a club within the M25. But I think we hoping Hugh and Mr. Nelson have identified the areas we need a bit of strengthening.
Out of interest, what have you made of the lad Keenan Patton, who making his debut tonight? What's been your thoughts on him?
I would say solid but unspectacular. Yeah, he's pretty solid in the centre. I think we noticed him when he's gone off. There's been a lot more coming through the middle, so hopefully he can grow next season as well.
Yeah, he was one as the final whistle's gone and people are starting to walk out, not many smiles on their faces, but for me I thought he was interesting because I expected him to be a lot more physical and perhaps a bit stronger in the challenge, and actually he got brushed off the ball a bit easily, which you can't criticise him for that. He's a young man. But it suggests there's still a bit of room for him to grow physically, probably. I
agree. But let him have a summer in Pipey's gym. Let him get on the old protein shakes, and he'll be all right. Hopefully next season.
And where are you on Nelson Jardim? I mean, I heard one or two comments being thrown his way in the second half. Not very flattering ones. Where are you on the coach? Do you think he's done enough to deserve another season, or do you think a change is needed?
That's a tricky one, Ed, because going on Hugh Jenkins, he said that every season has to be continuous improvement. We got 55 points last season. I don't think we're beating that this season. No. So is that by Hugh Jenkins' own rule we have to let him go?
I think surely this is like year zero of the plan, and it's from here on that starts to kick in. I mean, I'm with you. I think that 55 points felt like an achievable target at the end of Fight Back February, but now maybe we might come up a bit short. I don't know.
I think so. But I think he is getting better as the season goes on. And he still makes his substitutions a bit too late, in my opinion. But I suppose the more we invest in him, he will get better, and he'll learn how to manage games a bit better. Yeah. So I'm not calling for a manager's head at this stage.
Good. And looking back as well, what's been your standout moment of the season as well?
So, right, it wasn't one moment, but I think come January when we were really under the cosh and I was waiting for us to just get sucked into that relegation battle. Fair dues to Nelson, he's kept us out of that with a comfortable distance as well. Yeah. So I think that was my highlight of the season. As I think you called it Fight Back February, was it? Yeah, that's my highlight.
Yeah, the relief I think we all felt at the end of that month was great. Well, the players are giving us a clap, and the Hazel stand is starting to empty, and we're gonna shoot off. So Thank you all for listening, everyone. If anyone's making the long trip up to Carlisle and you've not been on this season, for goodness sake, get in touch, because I'm not sure there's going to be that many making the trip up the M5 and the M6. But until then, look after yourselves and each other, and above all, as always, what do we say, Hamid?
Keep it county.